Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that your name be glorified in all that you do. Let us always remember that you are with us at all times, and let us be filled with your Spirit, so that we may glorify your name and that we may know you, love you, and serve you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today we are continuing in our journey through Exodus. Now, yesterday we were looking at chapter 34, and actually the verses were 29 through 35. And of course, as you know, I don't read the verses. That's something I encourage you to do with your favorite, daily missal, whether it's bible.usccb.org, whether it's the Word Among Us, whether it's Magnificat, whatever it is, whether it's the bound daily missals that you can find, and definitely read the readings, and you'll have an understanding of how what I'm talking about in a better way. And there's several reasons why I don't read the readings. One of them is actually due to time, but there were several reasons. So now we are at Thursday and the 17th week of Ordinary Time, and our reading is now from Exodus 40. So yesterday it was 34, today it's 40. So obviously there's a skipping around, and it's always good to read what happened in between, but obviously there's 6 chapters there, so you may not want to read it all in one sitting, but have an understanding, or maybe at another time, day by day, go through the book of Exodus. You can also use some good podcast platforms that do that. Father Mike Schmitz has the Bible in a year. He also has the Catechism in a year, which is ongoing right now. We're in the midst of the year, but he has the Bible in a year, and he's talking about obviously this was last year, so the entire podcast is out. And now this year he's in the midst of the Catechism in a year. So at the end of the year, the entire podcast is out, but obviously the most of the podcast is available. So yeah, definitely check those out. But so now we're skipping around. We're already up to chapter 40. And what is, we'll say, the missing part there? And the answer is really simple: the building of the Ark of the Covenant. Now, I'm sure you have seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you haven't seen that movie, which obviously is a fiction story, but it's based on the reality that there was really an Ark of the Covenant, if you haven't seen it, please go see it. It's really fascinating. There is some good theology in that, by the way, and some theology that I can match to different stories in the Bible that are in that. It's very good. It was an excellent movie, so definitely check that out. And, of course, it brought forth the other Indiana Jones movies, but really is good and gives you a little bit of an understanding of the Ark of the Covenant. Well, here we're seeing today that it's really set up, and what's being set up really is that location where we understand God's presence is. That place where we can focus, that place where we can understand. And this becomes, remember, let's go back to that time. There are no churches, obviously. There are temples that belong to the pagan deities, but there are no temples for God. There never have been a temple for God up until this time. And so you're starting to see the beginning of a place that you can go and pray to God. And you have this focus on this Ark of the Covenant. Now, if you happen to come by St. Anthony Parish during this time, they do this in July and August, there is an Ark of the Covenant that they use for prayer intentions. It's beautiful. Down at Consal Nova, there's a different Ark of the Covenant they have. And instead of the 2 angels at the top, it's, first of all, it's made out of wood. It has a lamb representing Christ, and it is a tabernacle. So we understand these are 2 realities that illustrate the presence of God, that God is present. And we see those signs that night it's a flame, this fire raises up, and during the day it is smoke. all of this is communicating to the Hebrews for the first time in their lives, and then over time, but communicating the power and the reality of God's presence. And what is the point of it? To trust in the Lord. When you go and read the Gospels, you'll find Jesus calling the apostles to trust in him over and over again. And so it's a skill, you could call it a skill, that is learned. And by the way, it's learned during your most difficult times. But it is learned. And there it is, this trust in the Lord. That's what he's trying to communicate to them. And all the problems that happen to the Hebrews until they get into the promised land are based on not trusting in God. We're going to talk more on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from Allston, Massachusetts. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. And don't forget our website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also hear us at our parish website, ST for StAnthonyAlston.org, StAnthonyAlston.org. So we're talking about these powerful moments where we're listening to the word of the Lord, and we're seeing this message that we're looking at the beginnings of the Ark of the Covenant. Now, we're seeing in today's reading the focus on a tent that covers the ark. But the ark itself is not made of a tent. It's made of this solid gold, and it is put together. Now, I don't know, since no one has ever replicated this to the best of my knowledge. I remember years ago when you had Eric von Däniken's work of, the world was visited by aliens, which, as much as I love to hear the stories, I don't necessarily agree with them. I just, they're always interesting stories. Why not? But, and he had said that they had rebuilt the Ark of the Covenant and they couldn't get near it because there was all this electrical, something like, as I remember the story, there was this, it was some kind of electrical reality. And I think that's something that's Eric von Däniken puts in his writings, but I don't see any sign of that here. And that's an important understanding, because they wouldn't have known what electricity was except in the form of thunder. And we do know there's a story where someone touches the ark when David is moving it, and he dies immediately of touching the ark. But there was, to the best of my knowledge, no form of electrical energy coming from the ark. And that's important because some people would believe that. No, it was very simply the Ark of the Covenant. It was this gold, you could call it, as much as I hate to use this term, this gold box. And in that box were the Ten Commandments, the tablets themselves. And we understand not only that concept, but we also understand, we take that same concept and in many Christian circles, including the Orthodox Christians and the Catholics, we have a term for Mary that's very similar. The Greek term is Theotokos, which means God bearer. And there you have that same understanding, because you're understanding that, like the Ark of the Covenant carried the presence of the Lord, so did Mary, as we see in the Gospels, carry the presence of the Lord. So we see these two powerful realities, the ark, and we see Mary compared to the ark. So this is the very beginning of this whole journey with the ark. And we see that through the ark, they understand how to continue on their journey. It was believed, and this becomes the key element of later Raiders of the Lost Ark, that those who possessed the Ark were able to win any battle. Although we learn in the book of Samuel that that is not true. It's part of the story of the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It is the reason why the Nazis were searching in the movie for the Lost Ark. The movie itself is more theologically correct in how it all plays itself out, which I don't want to give away any spoilers, but that was believed, and they believed that as long as they had the Ark, they would win the battle. That turns out not to be true. They had to live according to the commandments. And if they didn't live according to the commandments, then, in fact, it didn't matter if they had the Ark. The Lord was not going to bless their battle. But that comes later on. We're going to see that in the book of Samuel, which is that powerful reality that we see there. But in the meantime, we're looking at the very beginning of this powerful truth that is the Ark of the Covenant. We'll talk more tomorrow. Have yourself a blessed day, and remember, come by St. Anthony in Alston. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Alston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Alston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Alston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Alston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.